everyone. I'm Regina, and you are you. Welcome to Conversation with Regina. We've got a really amazing show this week, and oh my gosh, at the behest of everyone, we're going to talk about awakening, being aware, about Starseed, about everything. And it was here a month or so ago, is back with us today because her and I talk about this stuff all the time. It seems like our conversations just go there. And so I thought to keep it all interesting and to keep me motivated and on track, you know, my friend Ann would join us. She's down in Tucson out of her RV and just living the life of Riley down there. But first, let's get to some business, you know. Goodness gracious, you know, this is my channel, and we need you to like and subscribe and to be notified. You know, I mean, gosh, if we want me to keep going, we've got to keep growing. And so it's just really great. I just have so much fun doing this, and I hope you guys are having fun too, listening to it. You know, see, Chloe's got a big deal going on this week leading up to Trans Day of Visibility, which is next Wednesday. And in the meantime, also on Sunday is the monthly pajama party over at Beyond and yours truly will be one of the guests this week. So that's something else to look forward to. And then let's talk about next week on this channel a little bit. I still need a few people to volunteer to come on to be visible. You know, I would like to have, you know, Casey and Christy are going to come on, and Louise didn't answer me. And so I would like, you know, if you're interested, just shoot me a private message and I'll get your address. So yeah, I'd like to have a few people come on and do a little statement about Trans Day of Visibility. Be visible for a minute. Let's stand out, and you know, maybe I can get all of us on this screen here in front of it, and I won't start crashing and whatnot. So anyway, let's give it a shot and see what we can do. Make a little noise on Visibility Day. And, you know, this is all brought to you by Raise Rose Coffee, you know, which is my own company, and www.raiserose.com. And we do single origin varietals is pretty much our main gig. And we do nothing but quality coffees. And so, you know, hit my website up if you want. So without much further ado, let me bring on my good friend, Ann Nelson, and she can tell you about where she's at over, you know, oh, there I go. Trying to tell her story for her, and it just doesn't work that well. And so here she is. Here's Ann, and I'll let her talk for a minute or so.
Hi, hello, Regina. Hello, everyone.
How are you today?
You know, I'm doing really great. You know, like you said, I'm down outside of Tucson, Arizona. I came down in my RV. I was so excited. I had a friend give me a couple of weeks at a state park down here, and I thought, oh, how perfect. Winter weather, get down to Tucson. And I got here a couple days early, and I was able to get a site for 2 days. And then I moved into my permanent site and was laying out this fabulous rug outside so I could entertain and have this little outdoor quote-unquote patio, and unfolded the rug and stepped backwards and ta-da, fell and broke my arm. So living the life of Riley, right? So that's been an
Well,
interesting journey for a couple of weeks. And I had a doctor's appointment yesterday and everything's going pretty well. Although I'm telling you, the first 12 days were like not good. Lots and lots of pain. I was alone. You don't realize how hard it is to open a tube of toothpaste, a cap, or wash dishes, or you name it, anything with one hand. Not so fun. But I'm kind of over the hump now. I'm in a really great place where I'm safe and I can go out and hike in the desert every day. And that's really healing for me. So hanging out with the saguaro cacti and the owls and nature, it's the best thing to do right now. So that's kind of the update on Anne. Always an adventure. By the way, your hair looks great, Regina.
oh, thank you. My friend Melissa at MB Hair did that this morning. And God, I wonder why I can't ever make it look like that. It's just amazing what she can do. Of course, she gets a little more practice than I do and has all these different hairs to work with and all these different products to work with. Yeah, and I try to do something like this and it just, well, you've all seen how it looks. I try for this
It looks great.
Every morning I go for this and so seldom do I even come close, only when I go see her. But thank you. And so welcome. and when you see her, tell her I gave her a shout out too, because she said, now you be sure and give me a shout out.
There you go. There you go. We walked right into that one.
Oh, I love my people here in town. And it's great living where I do. And you know, darn. And so her and I, we had quite the spiritual conversation this morning too. And
good.
Yeah. I'm trying to, keep me rolling along here. So yeah, I actually even have a reading to do before we get started, and where are we going to start? So we might as well kind of set the pace, do 3 deep breaths and get all relaxed, and I'll find my reading and let's get this show on the road.
Perfect.
So yeah, it looked like you were frozen there for a second. Yeah. And I had a really cool one kind of like spotted here in Ram Dass called Enlightening Up. This is from Polishing the Mirror. And so offering up or cleaning up the ego stuff that distracts you from the spirit is called purification. Purification is an act of letting go that is done out of discriminative awareness. That is, you understand that you are a soul passing through life in which the entire drama is a script for your awakening, and that you are more than just the drama. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Your life experience is a vehicle for coming to God, for becoming conscious, for becoming liberated. Ultimately, that's what you are doing here. This awareness helps you discriminate between thoughts, feelings, and actions that bring you closer to God, to your own freedom, and those that take you away from it. So I thought that was a good way of starting off with this, because we're clarifying what we're going to talk about today. And that's just becoming aware of that power greater than myself that I'm living life for, to that I'm just loving awareness. And what a great thing that it turns out to be.
Yeah, that's really what it boils down to. And then, how do we really interact with it? And I have found, I mean, this whole breaking my arm experience, and we can go into, what was that all about? And, but having, being sort of, okay, I got to stay in the desert now and walk, and to be out just walking quietly every day and just looking at the abundance in the desert. We tend to think that the desert is some dry place and not much going on, but there is so much going on, and you start to just see the intricacies of all of this. And then I reflect it back to myself, and it's like, wow, I have the same level of abundance. I've been made by the same creator that has made all of that. And it's really taken me to a different place of self-reflection and understanding. And and I totally get, didn't Jesus spend like 40 days in the desert, and it really took him to another level of awareness. And I can see where that can really happen, of just being quiet and reflecting and saying, what is source saying to me through all that I'm seeing? um, huge awareness. And I tend to look at life as metaphors, right? Like everything is kind of a metaphor. And even my broken arm, I'm like, okay, what was this all about? I mean, obviously I tripped and fell stupid, but as I sit back and really go into that and ask, all right, source energy, why now? Why this? What, thank goodness it wasn't worse. It wasn't my right hand. Um, but I got a very clear message about, the left side of the body is the feminine side. It represents femininity. And this part of the arm represents this sort of ability to dream and start to bring your dreams into fruition. And, and I look at, like, where did the break happen? And I got this really clear sense that it was a message to me around stepping back and breaking away from my old idea of femininity and being a woman on this planet, and being more, that maybe the need is to nurture myself more and really honor that feminine presence in me, instead of kind of driving hard like I've done in my life, that masculine energy of got to get it done, got to push forward, got to, you know, tough it out. And it's really pushed me into stepping back, into seeing how could I be much more gracious and nurturing to myself, and break from that old way that I used to treat myself as a feminine being. And that's kind of this awareness that I got from that.
Wow. Wow. That's cool, because I find myself flipping that around, going the other way and trying to be more, well, I guess it isn't either. I got that mixed up. Yeah, no, I'm trying to be like you, be more feminine, be more nurturing. And because all those years doing the masculine thing, charging ahead, feeding the family, doing this, doing that. And now the last thing I want to do is sleep on the frickin' ground. The last thing I want to do is go fishing. The last thing somebody was talking to me this morning about gardening. I think it was Sarah. And oh my stars, I was thinking, screw that, I don't want to garden. I would get dirt underneath my fingernail. And then I look around and I think, why am I such a cupcake here? Because I see women doing all of those things, every bit of it, and enjoying it. I mean, like my bestie right here in town, Denise, she's off doing hiking, and I mean, my God, she hiked the Pacific Crest Trail by herself.
Oh,
and
wow.
and I'm thinking, man, that's hardcore stuff there. Carrying a light pack, and I know she packs light, because you have to when you're not very big. And holy smokes, camera and a couple changes of clothes, and that's it. sleeping bag, of
Yeah.
course, and food, but holy moly. And wow,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
where I
So
did all that before, I don't really want to do it now.
yeah, I think that's exactly what I got too. So by the way, I broke my hand on behalf of everybody, or my arm there, to solve this feminine dilemma of, let's step more into nurturing ourselves. Let's step more into bringing our real gentle selves forward. And I got that, when I went to the doctor yesterday, they took the cast off so they could do x-rays. And I was surprised at how much my arm still hurt. And I couldn't hold it up on its own. And I just had to kind of hold it next to me. And I really reflected on, like, wow, this is not going to be a slow or quick heal. I mean, it's actually going to take several more weeks. And that means that I've got several more weeks that I just need to take care of myself. And in the past, I would not have given myself that grace. I would have just charged forward. And I just really believe that now is time to just really nurture that feminine side. And you know what? If we want to lay on the sofa and eat bonbons and watch Days of Our Lives, I think that's okay right now. And yeah, I feel like there's a much bigger. It was important for me, but it's also reflective of something that's happening in a larger scale, I think, in our collective consciousness of the divine feminine rising up and us being aware of that. Like, what does that mean? What are our behaviors in alignment with that? What are the things we need to let go of being manipulative or controlling or masculine, too masculine, overly masculine, or maybe overly, dependent too, or codependent. So really looking at what's awareness around femininity and kind of divine femininity as we express it.
Well, when we talk about the divine feminine, aren't we kind of like destroying the patriarchy that has to do with religion and this toxic religion that we have in place in this country, for sure, because I don't find churches to be a very comfortable place for myself. And while I understand Jesus was a good dude and all that, but his followers have been kind of sick the last 100 years, because I mean, here in this country, they're trying to eradicate us,
Well, and look at, traditional fundamental religion has, I mean, look at the women. Where are they? I mean, they're either Mary Magdalene, a whore, or his mother, who was just perfect, right? And they were probably, first of all, I think Jesus was probably married to Mary Magdalene, but they portrayed her as something awful because I do believe she had a very high consciousness, and they probably worked together as a team and companions. And we're now rising up to see how we can be companions with masculinity. And of course, we're calling forth sacred masculinity. We want the higher evolved masculine elements too, whether it's within ourselves or someone else or a friend or partner or whatever. We want to see this nice equal balance of, masculine and feminine. But it does have to start within ourselves first, right? We really have to tame that over exuberant side and rise up the one that's been suppressed.
Do we really want it to be balanced, though? Because the feminine side is so much more compassionate, so much more loving, so much more understanding, and why do we want to balance that with the masculine?
I think the masculine side is the way that we can implement that, right? So we can raise up this compassion and be beautiful, but we have to also have the energy and the forward movement to display that in the world. And that doesn't mean we have to be half man, half woman. It's just energies that can ebb and flow. And the masculine energy is the movement forward. But sometimes it's we've been living in a world of pushing forward without embracing the compassion and the heart energy. Now we're going to walk forward as a team. And I do see some of the reflection or the kind of the kickback from over masculine is hyper feminine done kind of in a masculine style. So we have our own style of being gentle and nurturing and wonderful, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I really think it's time to bring it forward and, be at least, evenly yoked, maybe might be the term.
I'm not in favor of the even Steven thing.
Okay.
I think that we should just I imagine that God, if there was a being God, would be kind of genderless,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
and to hell with the it just is, and so there should be all the good stuff, the compassion, the love, and then, oh, does there need to be more than compassion and love and kindness and nurturing? We don't need the aggression, I don't think.
Oh, no. See, that's the unhealthy side to me.
Don't think that we need that aggression in a churchy sort of way, like the little church lady goes, oh, let's go kill those people that are different. I don't think so. I just
well, and I think you're right. I mean, there is an unhealthy dynamic around that, right? When we say masculine, it's scary because our relationship to it, primarily what's been exhibited is not a lot of healthy aspects. I'm seeing healthy aspects coming up through the population, and really people stepping forward to offer assistance and help, and obviously that's a feminine quality too. But I just have a sense that they're energies. They're not necessarily genders. It's an energy of both forward movement and receptivity. So I guess it is hard to talk about this because we automatically go into genders. And I want to take away from that and say it's really about energy. Where's that balance of both forward movement and receptivity? And for me, I'm really learning to be more receptive. That's been something. And when people offer to give you something, do you accept it or say, no? And it's like, well, part of rising up that feminine energy is to accept graciously and say, thank you so much. Yes, I will accept that. Right.
Good point. Yeah. Because I mean, that's part of doing the person a favor who's gifting you. And I mean, I learned that several years ago is if somebody gives you something or asks you to take something, take it because you're making them feel better. And that's really what it is all about, because one of the greatest feelings that I ever have is when we give something, and that's kind of where I started coming awake, since we are since that's what we're
and I think how many of us are very good at even taking a compliment, right? I mean, we always go, oh, no. We kind of push things away. And, that's a level of awareness of really being, when somebody gives you something like a compliment or a hand up or whatever, do you receive it graciously? And, I've been in the habit of kind of, no, I don't need that. And now I'm like, Ann, let yourself have this.
Yeah, years and years ago, my sponsor, he said, "What the fuck's the matter with you? Why don't you just say thank you?" And he said it pretty much like that, and I'm going, "Oh, why don't I just say thank you?" And so then I started saying that, and it made everybody feel better. And that's kindness. That's the start of learning, and whatever it takes sometimes to open the heart to those experiences.
So if we can say thank you, learn to say thank you on behalf of ourselves, can we learn to say thank you on behalf of source energy or something that's much bigger than us that is giving us things, whether we like them or not? I'm really learning to step in and say, like in this case, thank you, source, for, I'm learning so much through this experience, and it's abundant, and another chapter in my life, even though there were moments that weren't easy. I think it's opening the doors for more prosperity to show up as I just stay in gratitude and appreciation for this whole experience. Thank you,
Yeah.
Thank you, source.
Oh, gosh.
For being the mat that tripped me.
What was that?
Wow. For being the mat that I stepped and tripped on.
Oh.
God was the doormat, right? I don't know.
Well, it gives you a chance
over
to
a mat
slow
and fell
down and
backwards.
walk through the desert and learn to enjoy that desert. So
I have to tell you the other thing that, you talk about awareness. So there is a great horned owl that is nesting at the top of a saguaro cactus out here. And it's astounding to walk out there, and she's just sitting there still. And the cactus is just slowly swaying in the wind. And the other day it was quite windy, and I was out there looking at her, and her little ear things, the pointed parts, I don't know if they're ears or just feathers, were just blowing. And she just sits there day after day. Of course, the male comes and feeds her at night, but it just really brought home this idea of patience, and just being present. That is all she is doing 24/7, and accepting what the male brings her for food. It's, boy, when you really think about that, you go, nature is a powerful teacher. Powerful.
I couldn't agree more. Great horned owls are pretty cool.
They really are. Yeah.
At one of my homes, I had a nest of great horned owls right above my stock tank, and
Oh, wow.
and it was just so cool because I got to see them in their whole mating ritual and whatnot. That they'll actually fan their tail out like a turkey. It was. I thought, what the heck is that? And it was pretty cool. And
yeah, I have a friend this is a great story. I have a friend, well, you met Andy, who owns a ecological center in Northeast Oregon. And he actually had great gray owls nesting on his property. The first year that he noticed they were there, and he'd see the male coming and feeding her. And by then the 4 chicks had hatched. And one day he was working in the woods, and he heard a noise, and he looked up and he saw a great horned owl carrying off the male great gray owl, had killed him. And Andy started looking into this, and he met a woman who wrote a book about owls. And she said, you got to feed that female or those chicks are going to die, because that's how she takes care of them. She relies on. So Andy started trapping mice, live trapping them, and kind of putting them in a place where the owl could come down and feed them. And it got to the point where she recognized him and would come and actually take the mice out of his hand. And those two raised those 4 chicks, and they went on, they grew, and they eventually went away. Andy just emailed me and said the owls are nesting again now at his place. They just landed in last week. So he's excited about kind of this next batch. But wow, what a powerful story about him stepping in as sort of the surrogate male and providing for her.
That's way cool. That's way cool. I love stuff like that, because that was part of my becoming aware of the powers greater than myself was through biology. While they're teaching me evolution on one hand, I'm also learning about a power greater than myself on the other hand. And then you see the way that evolution works in like what was it? It was like a wild columbine, that is native to the mountains up here in Idaho, on the Idaho-Montana border. And it was just the most fabulous plant. And to think that there was something created that it had to be the creator, that power greater than myself. I mean, some cultures call it the creator, some call it God, some call it something else, Yahweh, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. It's real. And these things are created, and holy smokes, what how can this happen?
That's so interesting. You know this, but I spend a couple hours every morning in kind of quiet meditation and dialoguing with Source, because it's my primary relationship. It's like having coffee with God every day, right? And I often get what I call downloads on that I draw. And just the other day, speaking of nature, I kind of had this interesting, and I'll show you this, and I'll just really quickly. But you see the seed. Oops. The pine tree.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
The pine cone, right? So what this really was about was all of them. The seed comes in and it has a consciousness. It already knows, the seed knows is going to be a tree, is going to be a pine cones and spread, right? It's innately part of its creation, right? It doesn't have a mind to know, but it just knows that. And so it grows into a tree, which creates pine cones, which then reseed the earth. But the message that came through to me was they all have the same consciousness. That's it. That is, what's carried in one is carried in all. So the tree knows that it has the ability to create something. The pine cone knows that it's already part of something and creating something more. The consciousness is a flow of energy, and the seed just knows it. And all it has to do is just be that source energy. It just has to be it, and it grows into the tree. But what really came out of this was the statement of, if you could believe in what you ask for as powerfully as does a seed know it's do anything you want it to do. And that's that awareness. Like, the seed doesn't have to think about what it's doing. It's just becoming that, right? And in a way, we're kind of the same way with humans. We truly are great. And we just need to know that, and know that we're always being led into it by this higher consciousness, this awareness that is guiding us. Don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, that really kind of gets to what I wanted to talk about, is about the starseed, because the concept of that is the fact that people, things from another planet, another world, put us here long ago to live through these lives. And at some point, we would start being aware to start changing the world. And to me, it all sounds vaguely like the Eastern religions anyway, through the reincarnation of lifetime after lifetime, always getting better, always working to be that loving awareness, and to find that center, that peace, and go back to the big melting pot someday, never to have to go be a person again. And so, that brings me to another reading, which which is an old Ram Dass thing, about being here now. That's really all that's important, whether we're star seeds or we're just incarnates from all these lives here on earth. We are what we are, and that's really all that's important. Whether we're,
and I think that seeds are, well, and I want to say that I think, just like the seed knows it is, the tree knows it is, as a star seed, what if we really know we're here to be higher consciousness. We're here to live and embody the greatness that we are, and to kind of reproduce it and pass it on. And I think the idea of Starseed is helping us like remember that we are here as something much, much bigger. And now we can live into that on this planet. And as we do that, we seed more, we grow it. And to me, that's the Starseed part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something keeps going, bidip, bidip, and I've looked all
Is
through
that
my
you?
house.
It must be.
It is me, I think. I saw
That's
where
great.
somebody heard it in the chat room. I think it was Casey, and it's driving me crazy because I shut off all my notifications. Everything's shut off.
Okay.
And,
so is anybody comment? I don't have a comment thing here, but is anybody commenting or asking questions or anything? Somebody have some ideas or thoughts?
Should we look through
Right.
and see?
gonna,
You can't see the comments there?
I'm not
Don't
seeing
you
them.
have a right-hand column that has comments?
Okay,
right
let me see.
Oh, you're on your
private
phone,
chat.
aren't you?
No, I am. I see private chat. Oh, there's the comments. Oh, sorry. You know, Miss Non-Techie here. So, okay. I was going to see if that would come up on the big. No, that doesn't come up if I have it on a full screen. So, okay. It's also embrace our indigenous. Oh, I love the indigenous heritage. That's funny.
So, where should we start? Way back at the beginning.
The yin and the yang. Yeah, I love that. You know,
where
that's
are you
the
at?
thing. Okay, I came back and, you know, Casey K made the comment about the yin and the yang. And that may be a better way to describe masculine, feminine, because we're so caught up. We're caught up in the gender. And the gender is an expression, but we really are, you know, it's the yin and the yang for all of it. And neither is good or bad. I mean, neither's better than the other, really. But I think to really understand how that works, and yeah.
Oh my God, I can't go all the way back.
But I appreciate you bringing the yin and the yang. Sometimes I have a hard time really knowing how I want to express what I'm thinking, and that's perfect. The yin yang.
I'll be darned. I can only
do you hug trees, Ann? You know what? I do. I talk to trees. I actually sit against trees and ask them for wisdom. I also use them to kind of get rid of negative energies. They're powerful. They are so important on our planet. They're filters, they're holders of energy, and they're so strong. I love trees. I'm a tree person. And it's been very interesting being in a desert with saguaro cactus. I want to say cactuses, but I think cacti is correct. But I think legend has it in the indigenous communities that for every saguaro cactus, it's actually a soul from a native chief, or somebody from an indigenous culture, and they're very powerful. You feel the energy when you're out walking around them. They're very, very old. It takes hundreds of years for them to grow. They're illegal to cut down here, thank goodness. But they have their own energy too that are really interesting and wonderful. And yeah, I get a lot from talking to trees and the big cacti, that type of thing. But I don't hug the cacti. In fact, everything in the desert, it's very funny, is like sharp needles. I mean, everything. I went to kind of put my arm on it. I thought it was going to be so clever, putting my arm on a little cacti, and I was going to draw a little caterpillar on my arm and send it to my grandson and say, oh, look, the caterpillar in the cacti. And doggone it, that piece of that cacti jumped out and like landed on my cast, and I tried to pull it off with the other hand, and it stuck in my finger. And then I tried to step on it with my shoe, and it was like something was trying to bite me. I finally got it off me, but boy, man, you don't mess around with cacti in the desert.
They'll get you. They'll get you.
They really will. They mean it. They really mean it.
I know. A few years back, when I was down on south of La Paz in the desert down there on the Baja, And man, I was thinking, ain't no way I'm walking across through any of that without a trail. You know, you see all these people come out of the jungle in the movies, and they're all tattered and whatnot. You know, you that's the way you'd come out of the desert, you know, just ripped to shreds. There's some sharp shit out there, and it's out to get you. You know, you look at it wrong and it'll jump.
Yeah, yeah, it is interesting. It's a little bit like humanity sometimes. You know, you just got to be really gentle, tread lightly, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's see.
So
In the
anyway,
near woods, giant red ones. Oh, yeah, incredible. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Christy.
so
I love that.
I
Your
never
last
have
name Woods. How
seen
lucky
that.
you are.
What's that?
I love it. She's got her last name is Woods. I love that. You know, it's like how lucky you are, right? So the things I personally neglect and try to see what she said. I missed that right up front.
What, the one I just had?
Yeah, you just posted
you and I
something
are
up
on
there.
different pages here.
Okay.
I don't know.
Cedar, birch, and pipes here. Yeah.
Hey, what's Clara
Okay.
got to say?
Graciously accepting kindness. Oh yeah.
So I don't think that graciously accepting kindness from people is in our nature, or we weren't taught to. You know, I think at one time, you know, all the cultures were just so hard on each other. You know, in the
you know, and I think that's why I really love to look at. I try to get beyond the gender. I know the gender is very important, but I try to get into like, who are we originally? You know, we're all this beautiful, bright, perfect light, this emanation of source. And, you know, ultimately that will express in gender, but we get so hung up on gender sometimes that we don't go back to every one of us is perfect and it's kind of the same inside. We're all perfect God source beings. And if we could remember that, I think we could get beyond this judgment around, you know, what color suit we're wearing and just accept that they're all equally valuable.
Right. Yeah.
All of us. Yep.
Kind of that of what two spirits is a reflection of. They find the right balance somewhere on that spectrum of gender.
Yeah. And, you know, I think gender is all, to me, and you heard me say this before, that, you know, we all choose these soul lessons to come in to learn about ourselves. And you know, because some of these issues are, you know, the gender thing is really, it's really pushing a lot of people's boundaries about what they think it should be or not. And I believe that anybody that has chosen that as a soul journey is really working at a very high level of consciousness development, because you've taken on kind of the hard lessons of really moving humanity forward to accept new things, new ways of being on this planet. And I honor anybody that has come in as LGBT, trans, everyone, because I do believe that you're the starseeds on a mission that are here to help us open and learn more about something other than just man and woman, you know? So that's my thoughts, and, you know.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just graciously say thank you for all of us. You know, but to jump back to awareness, you know, not, and I feel that because I've lived both genders and because I see things from two different sides of everything, that I have a big head start on this next part of the journey, you know. And
it's like you've stepped into being the master teachers. I mean, you really are. You're the master teachers for us, you and all of your group, and I honor that for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. It's oh, it's a heavy cross to bear. No, not really.
It is. It is.
It's interesting. It's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. You know, and I think Lara recognizes that being of a two spirit nature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and so it's really interesting. And I think that all of us, have that
Mm-hmm.
same capacity to recognize that and propel ourselves along, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
But
Well, I just so appreciate our conversations, Regina, because I've just learned so much from you. And I love being your student, and just I really honor that. And your friends, and how you talk about what's on your mind and what's hard for you, and all these things that I just kind of took for granted. And I know that you have in your heart to help send the message of transgender issues to many, many people, so that they can see that, yeah, you are up against some really tough judgments and criticisms, and all that stuff needs to go away now.
well, thank you. Although I never think of me as a teacher. We're just friends.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot
But thank
from
you.
you. I guess
Yeah.
that's
What the
what
hell?
friends do, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
There we go.
Uh,
There we go.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Mm,
Life is
mm.
just too good. Too good. I I'm
Yeah.
getting way.
Yeah. Wow. 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 So yes, what I love is, yeah, yeah, and and I will say it's it's been a learning experience in me, and I think we talked about this last time of not having grown up around. I mean, look, I grew up in a small white town in Wisconsin, right? And we didn't even have people of diverse backgrounds and color, or at the time, 40 years ago, you didn't gender was sort of down. But and so for a lot of people my age and that have just kind of grown up that way, to really learn about things and step out and be treated well in spite of like stumbling and making mistakes, not intentionally, but sometimes we aren't sensitive because we don't know, right? We've got habits, our brains have been wired a certain way. And you've been so gracious with me and helping me just slowly understand and know things. And I really believe my brain has kind of rewired to understand things differently. And I just really appreciate that you've been so patient with me too.
Uh-huh. You speaking about making mistakes remind I found this morning that is just
Hey, where in
incredible.
Wisconsin?
You're froze.
Okay, wait, I
And
got
so
to
I'm going
interrupt.
to
I have to answer this question. She said, where in Wisconsin? I grew up in a very small town near La Crosse. It's a little Norwegian town called Westby, kind of like Lake Wobegon. So, all right. So anyway, go ahead, Regina. I want you to finish what you were saying.
Okay. So this was written by an 85-year-old woman,
Okay.
and it's called If I Had to Live My Life Over.
Oh, good.
I'd like to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax. I would limber up.
Mm.
I would be sillier than I have been this trip. I would take more chances. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would perhaps have more actual trouble, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. You see,
Mm.
I'm one of those people who live sensibly and sanely hour after hour, day after
Mm.
day. Oh, I'd have my moments, and if I had it to do over again, I'd have them more often. In fact, I'd try to have nothing else, just moments one after another, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. I've been one of those persons who never goes anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had to do it again, I would travel lighter than I have. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would go to more dances. I would ride more merry-go-rounds. I would pick more daisies. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yep. You know,
Thank you for reminding me by saying the word mistakes, because that just resonated with me, because that's life. That's living. And
learning.
Oh my gosh, living more moments. Like this is a
Well, you know,
moment.
I have to say, so my own mother passed away she was like 46 when she passed away. Her mother, my grandmother, lived to be 104, and she was very sane up until the moment. I mean, she's got pneumonia and died in 24 hours, right? So live long, die fast kind of thing. But, you know, I've looked at my own life and I think, okay, well, what if I live to be 100 or something? Am I going to look back at my life and go, I wish I would have X? Wait a minute. You didn't do X because you were afraid you might get a flat tire. So I've had to really challenge myself to, like your reading said, live more out there, so that truthfully, if I'm 85 or 90 years old and sitting alone by myself, I at least have really great memories to reflect on. I can't sit and be angry about my life or wish I would have done something. That instead I can sit alone and be really grateful for all of the fabulous experiences and the challenges and the risks that I took. And that's kind of been my theme. That's why I'm living in my RV now, and you know, kind of stepping out, looking for the next kind of piece of work type thing.
Right,
Putting myself out there.
And I have been so sedentary the last 4 years, you know, and it kind of freaks me out. It's so time to go to Europe and let Sarah show me around Europe. It's so time to come to the desert and go walking with you in the desert. It's so time to go to the coast and feel salt water on my feet again, you know, or to go to, you know, my friend Denise was in Belize last week, and she was showing pictures, and it's so time to go back to Belize, you know, to go snorkeling and doing those things that I love to do. Go walk in the jungle, go walk in the desert, go, you know, have moments. And what stopped me from doing that, you know?
Well, and you know, with the law of attraction, it's really, really important to keep yourself in this vibrational state of happiness and inspiration. And it's very easy to fall out of that state when you're kind of sedentary and you're sitting and you're just wishing for what you want to do. So part of it is like, challenge yourself, get out and do something. And, you know, it'll raise that vibration to where you just attract more abundance. You'd probably be surprised at how the money would just sort of float in out of nowhere when you take that first step out to start to do something.
Well, you know, but as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking I had to have these 4 years to contemplate and reflect and become aware of who and what life is about. You know, because
and I did the same
have changed.
as well. Yeah.
I have changed a lot in that time. I've had to grieve my love. I've had to, you know, and learn how to be grateful for that love and to find this power greater than myself and to become kind and compassionate, because I'm not sure how kind and compassionate I was prior to this contemplative thing. You know, all these gurus and whatnot, they go off to these caves in India and spend great amounts of time being contemplative. And you know, so I think we need a balance there too.
Yeah, well, you know that I came out of a relationship about 4 years ago. Man, I struggled with myself coming out of that because it did something to me. So I think that kind of
Oh, did you freeze up?
again and becomes, can you hear me now? The
Yeah.
caterpillar that goes into the cocoon and sits there for a period of time, breaks down completely, and yet it still has that knowingness of who it's supposed to be and comes out as this beautiful butterfly that can go into the world. So I do think that time, and especially that you've spent and that I spent, going within and just sort of looking at all of our beliefs and intentions and habits, that's a really important time, really important time. And like you, I sense that too when we talk of your desire now to come more out into the world and have more fun.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah, yeah. I'm ready to get back out there. You know, well, you know, I always talk about people like myself need to get out in the world to be seen, you know, so we need to be visible. And here I'm hiding in this little frickin' town, you know, and I always talk about walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the walk, honey. You got to do it.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm going to tell your group this too. I'm trying to work on Regina to see if we can create a little coffee cart behind my RV, and we can go to places that sell coffee and spread good news. I think we would have a ball doing that. You know,
We should get a trailer and bolt a coffee roaster down on there, put a little tank of propane on there and back up to some 220 outlet someplace and just roast coffee and sell coffee like crazy. Wouldn't that be fun?
I know. We'd have,
we'd
have a lot of fun doing that.
You know, we're going to pull into some town, set up camp right there, boom, and roast a pound of goddamn coffee. That'd be fun.
All the adventures we would have.
Oh God.
Wow. Yeah.
So
does anybody else have a question? Or, I mean, I've been kind of reading on the comments, and thank you all for your, you know, kind, wonderful comments. And it's so lovely to share, you know, ideas and inspiration with everyone. And, you know, I hope that, you know, this just is a really great way for you to kind of set your day, right?
What?
Road trip, the hit of the campground. I know. Wouldn't she be great?
Oh my God. Oh yeah, you wouldn't be able to walk by our camp, I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, nobody would go. Everybody'd be gathering around us, you know. Well,
oh yeah.
Maybe that's why I broke my arm, because I had this idea when I was laying out this mat on the outside of the RV. In my mind, I was like, already, I was so excited about it. I could just see people coming by and bringing their chairs and, you know, sitting, you know, space the way people want us to be, but just kind of a gathering spot, right? And, you know, I tripped on the rug as I was laying it out. But, you know, I guess there's something about that. And maybe I need you there to help me. That's probably part of the problem, is you should have been there to help.
That's what I keep trying to tell you.
We've been doing this together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we like set up a bunch of chairs out there and just keep inviting people in. You know, have a pot of coffee on.
And by the way, okay, my brother owns a coffee shop and roast coffee, and Regina's coffee is better. I love Regina's coffee. It's the best. It really is. And I make it with my AeroPress here in my RV every day. It's the best.
Thank you. I keep telling these guys that, you know, so my bra strap keeps falling down. I'm driving me crazy.
I just mine. Isn't that weird?
Oh,
that
my
is
God.
so odd. It's my
I should
right
just
one.
take it off.
Or my left one. I was kind of trying to sneak
my
it
hair
out of my hair.
And my bra strap's going to hell. Oh dear.
Well, yeah, I have to say, I was using some cheap shampoo and my hair was just getting really weird. And I finally last night went to a salon, or when I was in town yesterday, and I feel like I'm just trying to get my hair tamed again. So it's still kind of wisping around, but
Here
it's,
we go.
you
We've
know,
got a question. How did you
okay.
find your way to being the wonderful woman you are? Is there a story you can share, Anne?
I thought that was directed at Regina. She's the wonderful woman. Oh, wow.
Oh dear.
Boy, if my story is like, we need to sit down and have wine or something, but or not wine, maybe just good coffee. Um, I think challenges along the way, through my life, and just kind of, I mentioned my mother died. I was a freshman in high school, and my father traveled a lot, and you know, I fortunately I didn't get into trouble. I really got involved in arts and music, so I didn't kind of run off and get into trouble with other people my age, but it kind of forced me to be very resilient and self-sufficient and, do a lot of things probably more trial by error than knowing, I had sense, but I've fallen in a lot of holes and had to get myself out of it. And I also have an insatiable curiosity, and I like to play and have fun. And I love learning about people. It's the curiosity. And so it's led me to a lot of different situations. I've lived in a lot of places and worked in a lot of different kinds of situations. And, I tell people my life is really more like a sitcom. In fact, I don't watch TV because sitcoms are kind of boring for me because I literally live in them. I meet characters all the time that make me laugh, and I see how everybody's dealing with their stuff all over the place, and I've just really learned to be accepting and find humor in all of it. And that doesn't mean my life is always perfect. I mean, Regina has seen me sometimes and I'm like, oh, I can't stand this. Then I get over it and move on. And I'm learning that, so really I didn't have uh, a, someone who really kind of taught me the feminine nature of kindness and caring and compassion for myself growing up. And I'm really just kind of now getting it. I've just always driven myself, but now I'm stepping back and going, wait a minute, I've buried this other side that wants to nurture and be nurtured, and cares deeply about people and wants to serve in a different way in the world, a more compassionate way. So is that kind of how that explains me? And like Regina, I mean, Regina has had a very interesting life. And in some ways, we're very similar. You lost your mother while you were in high school, right, Regina?
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
that it shaped you. It really
I was
shaped you.
I was what? A junior in high school when my mother died,
Hmm.
but she'd been sick for years and years and kind of ruined my teenage years by having
Mm.
to go home right after school and unable to do a lot of activities because I had to go home and take care of
Hmm.
my mother until my dad got home. And
Yeah.
I grew to just despise her, and that was a lot of baggage to deal with, and because I have a lot of guilt over that. It's all part of what made me. And
Hmm.
that is is all that trouble I got into as a kid, and all the drugs and alcohol I've used, and all those wonderful stories that make up this person. I've had to live every day of my life to be who I am now, and I I don't know if I would really change a whole hell of a lot. I would like
Here's the
to
thing about feeling.
transition earlier. I would have liked to
Yeah.
have become authentic at a different time. And there's so many ways of getting to where we're at today you know, and that's what other lives are for, you know.
Well, I wanted to say, so here's the thing about, it's back to that seed, source knows who you were, who you are now was inside of you from the time you were little, right? And it's very easy for us to feel guilty about, well, we didn't know that then. Let it go. It's all part of what made you now. I mean, you couldn't possibly know what you know now had you not have those experiences. And you can
Right.
go back and you could say, I'm sorry, I recognize, I understand. But kind of let go of the guilt, because we knew what we knew, and we were really doing the best we could with what we knew at the time. And thank God we had this understanding that we're much greater than that. And now you're living into it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, you know. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really,
And that's awareness. It is what it is.
yeah. I mean,
And I can
that's
do
just being
something
here
different.
now. You
Yeah.
know, I
And
mean,
I
we're
can do
always.
something,
Go ahead.
different tomorrow if I didn't like what I did today, right? I can do something different tomorrow. I can do it differently. I can do it differently a minute from now. But you're right. It is in the moment. This is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and of course we've always done the best we could on any given day, even when that wasn't very
Mm-hmm.
good. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when I think about it, it's like I was telling this story the other day, and it might have been to you even, about having done a little bit of time for my troubles in the service. You know, I was an anti-war protester in uniform, and consequently, I got the privilege of spending a few days in the Fairchild Air Force Base stockade and a bunch of time in the Navy brig, and
That's not so bad, is it?
you know, and I don't really care, you know, because those were
Yeah.
life-changing circumstances for me. And the fact that I was able, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
to jump around a little bit, and in reading what a star seed is always one that's so freaking independent, and that's me, you know, because I couldn't take a fucking order to save my soul.
Mm-hmm.
You told me to do what? You know, it's not going to work for me. And so consequently, you know, we agreed to disagree. And I learned enough about being in jail that one time. That's the only time I've ever been in jail for longer than 15 or 20 minutes. And I never wanted to go back. And I changed the way I lived a little bit to make sure I didn't go back. And
Mm-hmm.
didn't make me any more dependent. Didn't make me listen any better. I'm just a little more careful, you know, and oh my stars, you know, people talk about courage, and I don't even know what the hell that is, you know, and you know, most people wouldn't do the things I've done in my life. You know, there's a lot of moments there that a lot of people would never have done, didn't have the courage to do it. And you know, it's just the way it is. You know, do I regret those times? Not really. Not at all. No.
Think of all the courageous things you're going to do in the future.
What's that?
Think of all the courageous things you're going to do in the future. I mean, I already think you're the most courageous person I know, but it's
Well, I
exciting
think
to know, like, what are you going to do next?
the most courageous thing I've still got left to do in the future is face the end, you know,
Yeah.
with grace and dignity
Mm.
and clarity, you know.
Yeah.
That takes
Yeah.
guts, you know, and I'm hoping I meet that head on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We all got to get out of here sooner or later. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just don't want to be scared to death of dying.
Well, I think there's been a lot of fear that we've been living. We're more afraid of dying than we are of living, right? And I think
Right.
that, we have to start living and forget the fear of dying. I mean, it's going to happen, and we all hope that as we go through that, we do it in a quick and easy way. I mean, I don't think anybody's looking for some drama or pain, but
No,
I think to focus more on how do we live, and yeah, and just
but
prepare to courageously walk through that time when it's time.
but the thing about dying is it's part of living.
Mhm.
And so, it's the melting pot, for God's
Mm,
sake. It's it's that time of
mm,
clarity and grace and whatnot.
mhm, mhm.
Nothing to really get too excited about. So anyway, enough of that.
I'm loving these comments, I mean, obviously we're hearing some really amazing stories, like Holly talking about giving up her dreams as a veterinarian. It's like, wow, that's really big. And yeah, it's amazing how when we lose our parents at a young age, how that really does shape our lives and makes us think about things differently, and sort of, the societal norms. Somebody else mentioned that. And wow, standing against them. And again, I think that's the role of the Starseed, is we're here to sort of stand up against those societal norms and make allowances for something much bigger and better to come in, more inclusive and embracing of so much more than what we've had. And that's the exciting part. I mean, I very often kind of call myself the tip of the arrow, the arrow that cuts through whatever is there, tearing the fabric for other things to come through. And I think that's it's the role of the Starseed, is to be out front and to be courageous and keep going, support each other in that. So we tear the fabric for consciousness to open, and things to really change.
So what I hear you saying right now is that you're like thinking that that we're starseed.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, I think those that are really waking up right now, the initial we it's in our, just like the seed again knows it's a tree, it's a pine cone, there's a part of us that knows we're much bigger than what we are as humans, right? And I
But the
think that outside of the earth, there is this understanding that how big that really is. But when we come and we land, and it's like a genie in a human body, right? We're huge, but we're living inside this costume. And if we can start to remember who we are and then use the costume to help us play that role in a beautiful way, like the way you're doing and sharing what you know and with people, that's game changing for humanity. It's really expanding our consciousness.
right, right. But your analogy about the pine tree, the pine cone, and those seeds. There
Mm-hmm.
are some species of pine trees that have to have a forest fire before those seeds will sprout.
Yeah.
A
Mm-hmm.
lodgepole
Mm-hmm.
pine requires heat added to that seed. And that's why lodgepole are the first evergreen tree to come into a
Mm-hmm.
forest after
Mm-hmm.
after a forest fire or some other disaster.
Yeah.
And you get down in
Yeah.
some of those forest fire areas and that were heavily mined back in the 1860s, and there's just nothing but lodgepole, and it's crazy. It's
Hmm.
and so that's the catalyst that changes things. And so what's the catalyst that has us coming out at whatever life, that it's time for us to become aware, to be enlightened and to work on the changing humanity? Is it because we're now about to go into the age of Aquarius? You know, I mean, we're within 100 years of a 3,000, what is it, 3,500 years between
at least 2,000 and maybe more. Yeah, and we're on this. We're stepping into this Aquarian age.
3,500 years, and that's just a whole fascinating thing. That being said, you know, how did the ancients know about that precession thing, about the wobble in the earth? I gotta know. I gotta know.
Well, you know,
how did that happen? You know, why in some of the books is the Earth the seventh planet in instead of the third planet out from the sun? You know,
well, now you're getting into a whole thing of alternative history. Yeah, I know. Well, I think like, how somebody make this map from 1700s and they got the coastline correct? It's like, you got to be way up in the air to see a coastline line, but whatever. They figured out, they knew what they were doing. But yeah, you're really getting into some ideas of alternative history. Is it really what we thought it was? But I think, again, that's part of that expanding consciousness. Up until several years ago, we weren't even really allowing ourselves to imagine that there could be something other than what we know. And now, as more and more people are questioning and wondering, and we're kind of seeing things and having experiences, there is that opportunity for us to really expand and embrace bigger ideas. And we won't be able to see those ideas unless we can embrace the fact that they possibly exist. You know, I mean, it's sort of like, you can't really do anything in your life unless you can imagine it first, right? And if you can't imagine it, you're not really likely going to get there. But if you can sit and imagine that it's pretty possible or could be possible, you start to see it show up in your life. And I think we're in a time where we're going to start to see a lot of new information show up in how we live as humans on this planet and be with each other and do things.
It's like the Bosnian pyramid or Göbekli Tepe. You know, I mean, that's already dated back 12,000 years to where they've got the dinosaurs and engraved on stones that they've figured out were buried on purpose 12,000 years ago. When I was a kid, 6,000 years was maximum. We were still just coming out of the caves 6,000 years ago. And all of a sudden, you've got these little deals like the Tigris, Euphrates, and the Indus River and whatnot. And now already we've proven all that to be false. But the powers that be don't want to give it up, you know. And the Sphinx, you know, they're saying, the dude's the head guy in Egypt saying, oh yeah, that came from, you know, the reign of Khafra or whatever, and the geologist saying, well, those watermarks kind of look like that would be more from 20,000 years ago, and oh my stars, where does that come from? You know, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on that they're not really telling us about, or they don't know about, you know, and then you look in some of the stuff that's found in coal, 300 million years old. You know, there's an actual hammer that was embedded in the coal. And so that's like 300 to 500 million years old. And it's a freaking hammer there.
Yeah. Well, I think we should do a whole conversation around this because it's very fascinating to me. I mean, it just, and again, I think the point is that it's going to open us up to, like, you're asking a question, how did it get there? It's like, this is unusual. But I do want to, somebody had, Laura West had do you know of any society norms that once were just simply accepting and inclusive, like before Western culture prevailed? Wow. not off the top of my head, other than like just pure survival and, coming together as a family or group in survival. I think as we look at human evolution, our societal norms sort of track that, and we embrace it, and then we emerge beyond it, and we embrace that, and then we emerge beyond it. And it's a learning thing. It's like something that's always continually growing. And it's very easy to look back and blame them and say, well, they used to do this. Well, that's, that got us to here. And now it's time for us to break through this into the next norm or idea that we can embrace. And that's evolution, really. But we are so lucky now, because while we've sort of let evolution play out just as it has, we can now, as humans, start to really design our own evolution. We're smart enough to do that and really say, what does inclusivity mean? And how can we design that so that as we move forward, it's something that we don't even have to pay attention to. It just is. It's part of who we are. Yes, and Laura says, I think we're all descendants from the stars. I think that we are, again, we hold all of what the stars have within us, right? And yeah.
So
That's why we know
true.
so much.
Have we missed any questions now?
Gosh, I apologize if I've been trying to really focus and kind of read to the side and do the multitasking thing and then be able to make sense at the same time. So
Forget about the sense.
Holly, I love you reading your stuff, because I feel like I'm talking to my neighbor. I actually lived over in the Appleton area for a while, so near Green Bay, and I have a heart for Wisconsinites. Cheeseheads, right? Cheddarheads. But yeah, I was Scandinavian Lutheran as well. And yeah, we kind of left everybody alone. We didn't try to proselytize or recruit people. We just sort of, that's who we were. So it probably wasn't as, I know that other people that have been brought up in different religious sects have had, SECTS, have had some real difficult challenges in getting beyond those. So they're breaking free again. We sure are. We sure are. Man, I wish I could meet all of you. That's, Regina, you and I should get on the road and like travel and meet all these wonderful people.
You suppose we could just like crisscross back and forth across the country and meet everybody, and then we'll fly over to Europe and meet all of our friends over there, and maybe go down to New Zealand and see Eva. And
that'd be fun.
We just need our abundance, prosperity, abundance flower to blossom, and everything will be wonderful. Oh, my stars. God, I can't believe I just looked up at the clock. I was thinking, and we've almost been on here an hour and a half already. And wow.
It's been wonderful. I love this. I love your group here, and it's fun to reconnect with you. And I know our conversations go all over, and we hit a lot of topics, but let's do it again sometime. A lot of fun.
Well, yeah, no, you were the one who talked me into doing this in the first place when you suggested conversations with Regina a long, long time ago. And between you and Marty, here we are. I mean, Marty kind of took me under a wing and helped me through, just taught me so much about doing shows and whatnot. And she continues to teach me too. I see that she checked in earlier. I didn't get a chance to, I typed it once. Hi, Marty, but yeah. Anyway, it's all fun and good. I think we've come a long ways here, and
yeah, we have. Well, you have. I mean, just in a year of doing this, it's really amazing. You've put yourself out there, and you have wonderful people following you, and great conversations. And I honor you for being courageous yet again, Regina, and just doing it. And I'm going to tell everybody, go out and do something really courageous today. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Do something you haven't done before.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang. Are you there still? You froze up? You
I'm
like,
still here. I'm still here.
oh,
Can you
oh,
see me?
good,
I'm still
good.
here.
It was like you were
Mm-hmm.
very still there for a second, and I'm going, oh God. Yeah, but you're like doing me on Marty's show, and where I freeze up constantly, and oh my dear, oh my gosh.
Great.
So I have not ever said hi to Sarah. Who all have I missed here? Violin,
Ooh, bungee jumping.
and Holly. Hi, Holly, Lara. We've talked to, and Christy, and is Casey still here? And Darrigan's here,
Yeah.
and Casey's like strangely quiet. Did Casey leave?
I better wear a bra. Yeah, I like that. Where's Casey?
105. Perfect answer, Regina. Let's get.
Yeah, be happy. Find ways to be happy. Mm-hmm.
Well, happiness is an inside job. We cannot depend upon anybody else to make us happy. It's that coming to terms with who we are, what we are, and what possesses us. It's all kind of the be here now thing. And when we can live in that here right now is when we get to live in the happiness that is bestowed upon us, and the suffering goes away for a moment, and
don't forget that as a woman, if you aren't feeling happy, go hang out in bed and eat chocolate or make yourself a cup of tea and watch. Nurture yourself. Give yourself that self-nutrition so that you can wake up and be happy tomorrow. I mean, sometimes it's hard to be happy. And I'm finding out that if I just treat myself like I just want to be treated, I wake up happy the next day.
Oh, so my friend Casey is still here, just being a watcher.
I love it. Love it, love it.
I love my two moderators. They do a wonderful job, and I'm so glad that they are on this journey with me, and they'll be joining us next week for Trans Day of Visibility, and see who else we can get involved here, and see how many people I can put up here at once, and it's important for us to be visible, and so let's have a standout day, kids. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like we're wrapping up, and I really don't. I don't have that intention. I'm going to go for at least another 2 minutes, and so I feel like I need another reading. I didn't do a reading last week, and I've stewed on it all week long, and so God, this morning I just sat down. I know what we need is a freaking parable, little Khalil.
Oh, you know what? I know
got
totally what's right. Okay, I've got some really great tarot energy cards, and I'm going to pull a card, and we'll just see what this card will tell us. Oh, well, okay. Oh, wow. This one just jumped out as I'm shuffling it. It's called Caring Connections.
Oh, okay.
Now, let me read this for you because it's, I find it interesting that there was sort of this masculine, feminine picture. This card shows a couple in a tender embrace with a woman holding a blossom of new love. Like the community card, this reveals a caring connection, but usually between two people only. This card upright signals the beginning or deepening of a kindred spirit friendship or even the appearance of new love. It can also signify a formal business partnership. When this card appears, be on the lookout for new connections presenting themselves. The relationships you already share may become more intimate, purposeful, or present at this time. Notice the opportunities to forge new or deeper bonds. There may be a tender karmic connection at hand. And couple things, I just really feel like intuitively, this kind of takes us back to the beginning of the conversation around masculine, feminine, and letting ourselves nurture ourselves. Let's nurture that feminine side of ourselves. Let's do that and really connect and develop that deeper partnership within ourselves. So I'd like to, there's an affirmation at the end of this. Oh, and I'm just going to read it and let you repeat it after me. It's 2 sentences. And hopefully at home, you can all repeat it and just sort of take it in. I open my heart and life to truly caring connections. The ideal friend and partner is coming to me now. And remember that ideal friend and partner could be yourself, the other part of you that you haven't nurtured.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
so what a great way to sort of wrap this up. It just literally jumped out when I picked up the deck and started to shovel it. So
isn't that funny how that does that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I do my oracle cards, I like spread them all out and there will be all of a sudden be a big gap. And you know that card right there on top is the one that you're meant to take. And, you know, never goes wrong. And just amazing. Just amazing. I do one of those every week before I start this. In the minutes leading up to the show, I do an oracle card.
That's great.
Boy. Awesome. Okay, well, let's wrap this
bless up. Everybody. Have a fabulous rest of the week. Thank you for inviting me, Regina. And we'll do it again.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming. You know, I wasn't sure that we'd be able to get you through. Yeah, this is the clearest you've been to me. You know, it hasn't really been a good picture, and a few times we've lost you momentarily. But you know, better than what I had thought might happen, especially after we started off last night. You know, so
it's all good. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.
Thank you, Anne. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. I'm just gonna put you in the waiting room if you want to wait a few minutes, and I'll join you in a minute.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you.
So that concludes our show for this week. Thank you all so much for coming, and excuse me. What a great show. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I love doing this with you every week. If anybody wants to come on next week, shoot me a private message on Messenger, and we'll set it all up. I'm looking for, you know, probably 3-4 more people, and so anyway, have a good week, and we will see you next Wednesday. Oh my gosh. And take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, I got to do the outro. You know, we make these toys and then we forget that they're here. Here we go. Hey, ta-ta. Bye-bye, you guys. Love you.